Well, Jen, we are starting season 3 today. Can
I
you
can
believe it?
No, I cannot. I'm so excited. It's been such a journey and we just feel so blessed.
Yes. This is such a fun topic for both of us. You and I both have been feeling a strong prompting from spirit that we need to talk about ancestral healing work in depth, that we need to spend
Absolutely.
45 minutes to an hour just really diving in, really talking about why this is important at this time and age, and all the healing benefits that we can receive from our ancestral healing work. Welcome to Modern Sages Podcast.
I'm Jen Gilbreth.
And I'm Candace Coons.
With over 25 years combined, we have delivered messages from beyond,
explored ancient healing wisdom, and integrated these profound teachings into our everyday life.
We are passionate about creating new ways of being human in the modern age by integrating the wisdom of the past with the present and coming into remembrance of who we truly are.
Are you ready to change your relationship to life itself? If the answer is yes, your journey begins now.
Before we get started, we wanted to start off today with a review because, of course, we're going into season 3. We've had so many different sessions and live group readings and everything like that we've received so much support, and we wanted to just read a testimonial today. And this is from Tiffany Gentry. And she says, listening to the lower world journey and the upper world experiences has been truly impactful. I want to dive deeper into exploring myself. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing your knowledge. I just think that's so beautiful. This is why we do what we do, is to be able to bring answers and light to other people's lives and deep healing and self-expression and empowerment. So thank you so much, Tiffany, for that review. And of course, if you want to leave a review, we would absolutely love it. And we're going to be reading reviews from now on.
That's so awesome. Yeah, our intention and our focus season 2, again, was really trying to not only share the shamanic wisdom teachings, but to also provide some more tools for our audience, so that way they can connect with their animal helpers or animal allies, where they can connect with their spirit guides, where they can understand why we do things the way we do and why it seems to work. And so it's really neat to get that feedback, because it's like, okay, it's being received, and people can hear these messages from us. And they receive the love that we are giving them. So it's just really, it's exciting to get that feedback. It's all about connection.
Absolutely.
And love. So yes.
Thank you. Well,
Thank
Candace,
you.
today let's talk about
Yes, our
peppermint.
tea. Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, this is the second most popular herb, especially essential oil, that is used in the United States. I think lavender is the number one. But this is an essential oil that's had a lot of case studies, a lot of medical studies done on it. I think over 1,200 medical studies proving the medicinal benefits of peppermint, the herb, and the essential oil. And even though this is a very common essential oil for most people, I think that we need to remind people of the medicinal benefits of this amazing herb. It's not a simple thing. And it has a long list.
It does.
Of benefits. Yeah.
Well, and even just knowing essential oils, I love essential oils. That peppermint can be used for headaches. Of course, you don't want to put it directly too close to your eyes,
because that menthol,
because it is very strong. It can burn. I'll use it for headaches. I'll put it on my neck when I have tension. It's also really good to help maybe when you're feeling car sick or you're starting to feel anxious or overwhelmed. I kind of feel that way when I travel sometimes, and peppermint, when you smell it, can kind of help ease and calm the stomach, which you think it would do opposite of that because it's so strong and so vibrant, but it can help even calming your stomach, calming your digestion. It can do all things.
Yes. Yeah. The digestion one is huge, and the nausea. A lot of people use it when they're having morning sickness or any kind of, like you were saying, traveling, if you have car sickness. So it really helps with any kind of nausea or digestive issues. And gosh, what were some of the other ones? I know that it helps with pain and inflammation. So even the headaches, yes, you can put it directly like around the temple area or on the
Mhm.
neck, but it can also, you can make your own kind of healing muscle soreness balm, of your own by just getting some coconut oil and adding some of the essential oils to that and then rubbing on your sore muscles. And you can
Mhm.
get instant relief from that. It's wonderful for arthritis. I think it even had some anti-cancer benefits, which was amazing. Another really cool thing too is that if you are feeling low energy and you need a pick me up, peppermint essential oil is wonderful for that. So some people will carry it in their purses or their bags and smell it before a workout, or if they're feeling hungover or
Mm.
drained, you can also use this and it will help. So
I
that
have
is just the beginning, though.
Yeah, I have heard that does help too with sugar cravings. If you're like, I need sugar,
Oh wow.
you can smell that. And then of course too, you can put it in hot chocolate, have that peppermint feel with maybe not as many of the sugars that maybe a candy cane would add to a hot
That's
chocolate
yes.
or even a coffee. So there's so many benefits. And I would say with this one that this is one that you don't typically put on children or babies because it is so strong. I mean, you could
Hmm.
dilute it quite a bit and that might be okay, but it's not something that you typically put on children because it
Makes
is
sense.
so strong and it can burn
Hmm.
so easily.
Yeah, it is a natural mouthwash. You can add it to water and you can drink it. You don't have to
Mm,
even spit it out, but that will is a natural breath freshener, and you can make your own toothpaste with it as well, with baking soda and coconut oil and essential oil drops. You can make your own toothpaste. That was another thing that just came to my mind as you were talking about the cocoa and the coffee, but it also can be a breath freshener too.
absolutely.
So
So many
anyway.
good things. So if you do not have peppermint oil, we would strongly suggest to buy some because
Yes.
you won't regret it.
It's a pretty inexpensive essential oil as well, which is
Yeah.
nice. Not
Yeah.
all of them are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Candace, let's dive in today about ancestral clearing and healing. And it's so funny
Hmm.
because Candace and I both have been drawn to really diving deeper into all of this. It's almost like there's this energy in the collective world right now that's really being shifted back into our ancestral lineage and how to heal that and how to move through all of that and how it can empower us as well. And so this is the perfect way to start season 3 is really diving into the roots of who we are. And within shamanic practices, we dive into ourself, we dive deep into our underself, knowing who we are. And part
Hmm.
of who we are is our ancestral
Hmm.
DNA, it's our lineage, it's the epigenetics, it's everything. And so let's just dive in. It's going to be
Yeah.
good.
One of the primary journeys, healing journeys that you do on the shamanic path is the journey to the ancestors.
Mm,
And there's also ancestral ceremonial work that you can do that's extremely powerful. And these are practices that have been around for thousands of years. Again, we mentioned in one of our former shows that shamanism is over 100,000 years old. So this has been around for a very long time. And the reason it's been around for a very long time is because it works. And just because it's in modern times doesn't mean that it isn't relevant. And,
absolutely.
one of the first things that we talked about in our first episodes, one of our first episodes was what it means to be human in this Aquarian age and the opportunities that are coming with this Aquarian age, which one of them is this. It's the information, not only the remembrance of who we really are, but the information that is being stored in our DNA is being brought up to the surface to be transmuted and to be healed. This is a huge opportunity that we have as human beings at this time in this age. It wasn't always like this so much, where everybody had access, where it was so prevalent and people are feeling so drawn, even people who are not necessarily training to be a shaman are reaching out looking for ancestral healing work to be done on them. It's
Mhm.
something we're all being prompted to do because as we raise frequency, those energies that are being stored in our energetic field and in our DNA that doesn't serve that high frequency energy and expansion is being called for healing and release and
Absolutely.
transmutation. But healing, ancestral healing work is not just about the negative.
Mhm.
And it's also about reclaiming those gifts of your ancestors as well. So it's both. It's the release of that does not serve us um, anymore,
Mhm.
on our path and becoming the best version of ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
But at the same time, it's also about reclaiming our power and the gifts that we've been given
Mhm.
in this life that have been passed down from generation to generation. It's about also really integrating that, really using that energy and those gifts as we move forward and we become our best selves. So it
Yes.
has both sides
It
to it.
does. And I'm excited to dive in, even sharing experiences for myself about how gifts and talents and all these things are passed down in a positive perspective. But I
Yeah.
think before diving into that, I feel like it's very important for us to see and to understand. So maybe for someone who doesn't fully understand generational clearing or trauma or generational patterns, just to kind of talk about it simply, is that we know scientifically that things can be passed down from generation to generation. So my dad has two different kinds of blood disorders. And so when I go to the doctors, or if they want to put me on something, or they want to like look at different things, or I just go in for an overall general checkup, they ask you, do you have any things that are passed down throughout the family? And if I write, oh, we have factor five and this other one, they're always like, want to make sure that it's not in my blood system. And so we do a lot of different tests, not all the time because they always want to. I'm like, oh, I did it like a year ago. I don't need to.
Yeah.
But they do check to see if that is showing up within my blood system. And so if you think about that, science has proven things are passed down generationally. We also know that physical elements, emotional, spiritual, and mental things can also be passed down from generation to generation. And I like to think of it as, in my sessions, I always talk about this. Say that
Yes.
grandma had these bright red sunglasses and they were her favorite thing ever. So when her daughter got older, or even at a young age, maybe even at 2, she's like, you need these red sunglasses. So then she puts these red sunglasses on her daughter. And then all of a sudden, it's like your mom. So, like, let's say that was your mom. And then all of a sudden, as you get older, your mom's like, here's some red sunglasses. And it's like, because that's what they know, that's what you grew up learning. So you might find yourself saying, hey kids, here's red sunglasses, even if you
Mhm.
don't want to wear them, or maybe it's just like part of who you are. It's like, oh, we all have red sunglasses. But at this time, we're all being called into the space of saying, hey, since the Aquarian age has really hit home for many, it's all
Mhm.
about connecting in to see, does this serve me? Is this my truth? So a lot of us are taking off these red sunglasses and are like, I don't want these glasses anymore. Maybe I want no glasses, or I want a different color. And we can almost feel when we're taking these off, or when we're acknowledging that, how maybe mom is like, why would you take those off? Well, why do you wear them? Because grandma gave them to me. Well, why does grandma wear them? Because her mom gave them to her. And then it's like, but why? Right? We're in this space of
Right.
why. And so when we think about generational information, is a lot of us are being called to look at those things and to see, hey, is this positive? Do I want this? And if not, how can I let it go? And so there's a lot of
Mhm.
power in that space. And I tell you, Candace, the past year in sessions, connecting to our ancestors, they are really wanting to help us transmute this energy to live a heart centered
Mhm.
life for us. And so
Yes.
they're saying, please look at all this,
Oh,
release
they're
it, let it
so
go.
excited.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're
Because
like, you don't
it's
need
like
those
this
red
affects
glasses.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
because it affects them energetically too.
It
Just
does.
because our ancestors have passed on, you're very aware of this too, where it's like when we are being held down or held back in bondage with low frequency energy, that energy that we put out, because we're not an energetic island, everything that we feel and think about sends a ripple effect out throughout the cosmos, and that intergalactic web of creation. It has effect on our past, our present, our future, our ancestors, those who are coming in our future, and also everyone around us. And I know that may seem a little bit overwhelming, but if we're to take full accountability for our lives and the life that we are creating, it's important that we be aware of this. So
Mhm.
when we do healing, even if it's in this time and we are clearing out something that has been passed down from generation. Let's say it was passed down from grandmother to grandchild for generation after generation after generation. Okay, something, whether it was feelings of unworthiness and addiction or disease or whatever it may be, right? And we do ancestral healing work around that. When
Mhm.
you heal yourself, that energy of healing goes all the way back to your grandmother and her grandmother and the grandmother before that, and it keeps going. It sends that healing energy to all of your ancestors. That could be the big shift for them. So as they move forward on their learning and their manifestation and their new lives, whether in this dimension or other dimensions, that energy of healing, they get to move forward from that space. It's almost like standing, my grandfather said to me, this is one of my favorite quotes that he told me. He's like, we want our kids to stand on our shoulders. We really do. We don't want you to have to repeat all of our mistakes or all of our lessons. We would hope that you would learn from us and move forward. Well, what's amazing that I have found through ancestral work is it not only goes forward this way, when they do the work and they talk to us about their lessons, we can take a step up. But when we do our ancestral work, they can actually take a step up on our shoulders and they can keep moving up in frequency a lot easier because we're all connected into this web of creation. So it affects everybody.
And on top of that, it also helps change the future generation as well.
Absolutely.
So as we do work on ourselves, we're doing work for those who have passed as well as those to come. And so
Yeah.
it's a beautiful flow because we're not disconnected. Our DNA shows evidence that we're deeply connected to our ancestors,
Mhm.
but also those to come. We're all in this energetic connection. And it's so interesting because a couple weeks ago I had a session and I saw how how do I explain this? So there was a woman who came forward and she was talking about, because we know we're more when we come to our body, our spirit comes into this body. So essentially, who we truly are is connecting into this meat suit that has
Mhm.
generations and generations and generations of strands of the past generation. So essentially, you can
Mhm.
say you're above here and you're stepping in to this physical link generationally
Mhm.
this way, right? And it's almost like when you take a step back or when you pass, you remove yourself from that physical generational experience. But that doesn't mean that we haven't left behind anything that is affecting those to come as well. And so
Mhm.
when we're really being clear about generational patterns, it's also we're healing the past, we're healing this present moment. And a lot of times that means we are making different decisions than what we experienced, what others experienced in the past.
Yes.
And a lot of it is taking accountability. Is ancestral clearing and healing is, yes, we connect in, we can release, we can do all the sacred ceremony, but unless we're willing to make that change, nothing's going to happen. We are accountable, we are responsible for what
Yep.
we move forward with. And I feel like a lot of times it's kind of like someone who wants to go on a diet where maybe they buy everything that they need and it's all there, and yet they have the intention to do it, but they don't actually do it. And so
Mhm.
we are actively engaged in our bodies. This is our experience here. So when we talk about ancestral clearing, it's important to know that we are responsible for making those decisions every day. We can heal, and those ceremonies are so beautiful, and I absolutely believe in them and our that work there, and it can change our heart. So we have a new drive and a new direction to move forward in. But I feel like that's kind of where people get stuck. Is I feel like a lot of times people be like, I burned, I released, I talked to this person, I did all these things, but I'm still feeling the effects of it. Well, yeah, you've let go of their part, but now in order to fully integrate it, it's time to put it in motion in the physical form. So that
Mhm.
could be maybe in the family lineage. Maybe there's a lot of times where maybe there's a lot of experiences of single moms who raise their kids and they separate from their spouse and they, or maybe they don't have a spouse and they have a child, and then it can be passed down generationally where it's this pattern like 5 generations back where it's just like naturally like, oh, I'm just going to do this on my own. I'm okay. I don't need someone else to help me. And then all of a sudden it can be in this space where it's like, oh, I get to choose. Do I want to do this on my own, or do I want to move forward? And that's an
Mhm.
extreme example, but it's that constant action. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. And, there has been miraculous healings with ancestral work. It's not that those things aren't possible, though. I mean, they can actually
Yeah,
happen.
that's true.
Um, but most of the time, what happens is it's like you're being provided an opportunity to it's through the work to bring things up to the surface to your awareness.
Hmm.
And sometimes when we go through life, we do things unconsciously. We don't understand that we are choosing into a pattern. And a lot of ancestral work will bring that energy up to your awareness and say, do you recognize that you are continuing a pattern that has been carried down from generation to you? And that you are being given the opportunity to make a different choice, to take in a new energy with it. And
Absolutely.
so it wouldn't be brought up to your awareness if it wasn't an opportunity for you to shift something. Otherwise, it wouldn't be even brought up to your awareness, or that opportunity wouldn't be brought up to the surface in that moment. So that's really exciting about it. But you're so
Hmm.
right in the sense, too, that this is a free will universe. You still, it's still up to you. At the end of the day, it's up to you and your own accountability that creates the transformation. It was just like in one of our last episodes, we were talking about in the recap episode, I was talking about how the lesson of transformation has really taken hold of me, because it's one thing to have an idea or a dream or just know in your mind that you should be doing something. It's another thing to actually take the steps and to stand in that alchemical fire,
Hmm.
and you can feel the change. You can feel the transformation. And it's kind of like a relearning, because there's been certain ways of doing things for so long that have been very conditioned. So when you're going through that transformation, it's like, gosh, okay, I'm consciously making a different choice so I can go in this direction. And it's not always easy. There's like a fire to it. It
Yeah.
takes a lot of courage, a lot of strength, a lot of consistency and discipline and perseverance, to implement, to that yang. It's like, you're really connecting with that yang energy to really bring something, that
Hmm.
yin, that vision of what you wanted to bring into form. So at the end of the day, even with ancestral work, it's still going to be up to you. The opportunity is going to be brought up to the surface to say, look, what do you want to do with this?
Hmm.
But it's up to us in the end to really make those conscious choices to take a different direction and to feel gratitude for the opportunity to see it, to have that
Yeah.
come into our awareness.
Well, and that brings power too, because we know that we're here to live our best life, to have fun, to explore all the
Yeah.
emotions of this human journey. There's so many things we come here to learn, but we also always choose into that. There's so many different aspects. And so I think it's amazing that this is just one more line of that for us is It can be a playful dance. It can be fun. It can be creative. It doesn't have to always be heavy. And I think
Mhm.
also, I was listening to even a book yesterday with epigenetics, and the thing is that we can also like step into learning about our ancestors and learning about what they experienced. And sometimes we can feel this heavy tightening, or we can feel almost like shamed for what they experienced or how they got to the place that they did or what they went through. Or we can even learn something about someone and like kind of want to judge them for it. And ancestral healing is, we might have those experiences or feel that, but at the same time, we don't know what they went through. We don't know their full experience. And so I think even being aware that yes, some things are heavy and hot and like, oh, why would someone experience that? But instead of making them wrong or making us wrong because we have family that experienced that, it's being curiously aware of what's going on and not putting a label on it to define you or to define family, because
Yes.
that's only going to hold you back. And everyone in this world has things that they're hiding. They don't want people to know, they don't want people to see. Everyone experiences that to one degree or another. And so of course our ancestors also have those things. And so I think I just keep feeling like this worry, and I'm like having this download of information, is that sometimes people can get fearful about wanting to step into ancestral clearing because they feel like it's going to open up Pandora's box. And it's like, I can't deal with that. I don't want to do that. But at the
Mhm.
same time, we don't have to hold on to all of that. And if we're judging that, that's when we're going to feel it.
Well,
It's
and
like
it's affecting you,
counterproductive.
and
Yeah.
it's affecting us whether we're aware of it or not.
Yeah.
Because, just like what you're saying, not only the shame
Yeah.
do we tend to hold on to, but also the traumas. You were talking about how we can almost be judgmental, like, oh my gosh, to really go into that energy. We can go into judgment, we can go into feelings of shame or embarrassment. We might feel that energy. Shame, by the way, addiction lives in the world of shame, by the way. So that energy actually perpetuates addiction.
Hmm.
So if you want to go to the root of addiction, it's the shame. It's going to where the shame is held in your body and in your energetics. This may have been passed down from generation and generation and generation, right? And it's the same, and that can hold us back energetically. But
Absolutely.
it's the same thing with trauma. When our ancestors had experienced extreme trauma through maybe some form of rape or enslavement or all the above, right? That energy is held in the coding, the epigenetics of our DNA. That is affecting the health of our bodies, of our mind, of our emotions, and it's creating restriction or bondage around our awareness and our awakening. So it doesn't mean that we deny those things that our ancestors experienced and those energies that have been passed through us. It's important that we be aware of it. But humans have a tendency to focus on the negative and get stuck there.
Hmm.
And we don't want to get stuck in that energy because that energy is low frequency and that's going to make us sick,
Yeah.
whether physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. Because of that division, it's going to pull you deeper into the dream of Maya or this human experience. The opportunity that we have in the Aquarian age is our awakening. It's collective enlightenment for the whole planet, coming into heart-centered reality or Christ-centered energy. Some people call her the Buddhahood. When I say it, it
Hmm.
always feels weird to say it. But it's that energy within our heart space. And that is the seat of the soul. That is the energy where you connect in with who you really are, the bridge between heaven and earth within you. And when we have these energies holding us back that are lodged in our epigenetics or creating blocks in those lower three energy centers, the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus, then the energy that's trying to rise and create a Kundalini awakening inside of you into the heart space, throat, third eye, and crown gets blocked. You're
Mhm.
only able to get so far.
Yeah.
This is why all of this is happening, because it's like energetically, as a collective brother and sisterhood, we need to clear this for ourselves and also for ancestors and our future generations so we can move into our awakening as multidimensional beings and
Absolutely.
really root in this return of Zion or heaven on earth for ourselves on this
Mhm.
planet, because Mother Earth is ready. She's ready to she's ready for that 5D. She's ready for that return of Christ energy or heaven on earth or whatever we want to call it to the planet. We've been held back in this hologram, this matrix reality of division, duality, separateness for a long time. It's time to let that go.
Mhm.
It's time to move into this awareness. And
Yes.
so this is what's holding us back. It's just like if you were thinking of ropes, around our ankles or our hands or parts of our bodies. It's like we want so bad to go, but it keeps yanking our energy back,
Mhm.
you know? And so when we do ancestral healing work, we're not denying anything. What we're saying is, okay, with that energy, we are aware, we see you, we feel you, we love you. Now we're going to focus on what is the other side? What were the strengths? What were the wisdom teachings from that experience? What did I learn about myself? What did I learn about my ancestors and their strengths that have been passed to me?
Absolutely.
And then be grateful and then focus on that gratitude energy to take those diamonds and to move forward. And it will break you open. It will open you up to this awareness of who you really are.
Yeah, I found that even in my life is that as I started to be more open about, me feeling connected to the other side and having conversations with people who have passed, is I learned that this is generationally passed down. I mean, of course, we
Mhm.
all have this ability, but it's very predominant that it's been passed down from generation to generation. And so when I knew that, I could even call upon them, and I have called upon them many times, especially getting started. Like, why did you step into this, or why didn't you? And what can you teach me that I need to know now so that I can use this gift with power? And that has brought a whole different awakening and a whole different understanding. And instead of me feeling heavy or stuck or seeing how maybe they didn't step into it, how some of them did shut it down or cast it out, I learned from them. And then I chose for myself, I want to do this. And
Yeah.
I have that power because of that, but it has been passed down from generation to generation where some did, some didn't, and that's okay. And I feel like showing that and knowing that is I grew up always taking so much pride in my Norwegian heritage. It was always just part of who I was, and I felt so proud to say that. And as I worked with you with shamanism, I was drawn to, I'm like, okay, well, what about my Norse traditions? How did that
Mhm.
go? What was all that? So like I really
It'll pull
wanted,
you.
yeah, wanted to dive into that. And, even just this weekend, I started to learn, or I did a couple rune readings with my friend who I went to visit. And oh my gosh, it's so cool and it's so powerful. And it feels like this deep side of me, like it's like awakening something in my bones. Like
Yeah,
I
you can
don't
feel
even,
it in your bones. So true.
yeah, like there's no other way to describe it, but I'm learning
Mhm.
more about traditions, what Norse, like what they did in the past, how they used the land, how they had ceremonies and offered rituals towards the land in different ways. And it's literally like I'm coming home to something that I've
Yes.
always known. And it makes me feel excited. It lights my soul on fire. And I'm like,
And it strengthens you, right?
yes. Yeah.
It
And
doesn't weaken you.
yeah.
It's like you feel it. You can, when you do this work, and that's the great news about it. Like we're talking,
Mhm.
it's not all heavy. What ends up happening is it opens up this connection and this power and this strength. It's like you can literally feel them wrapping themselves around you and pulling you forward and pushing you forward. And it just connects you into this ancient wisdom that has been there all along, stored inside of you. But because of the other things that were in the way up to that point, you weren't able to truly feel into that because it was kind of blocking this connection that you had to your heritage and to the strength of your ancestors and the wisdom teachings that they had, and they're moving through you. It's like you can feel this.
Yeah.
And I just find it so incredible, Jen, too, because you and I, here we are going into season 3. We are going through these mass changes in our lives.
Oh, yeah.
And we did not plan this. This is just something that ended up happening where we ended up moving into new locations 9 days apart. Now, audience, we did not plan to move at the same time. We both were called to live with our parents, and for a period of time during the transition from our old places to our new places. And during this time, for me, and you can speak for your side, but it is almost surreal. It's cathartic in a lot of ways, because here we are talking about all this, and I am literally sitting in a room with my grandparents, things that they collected during their lifetime and antiques that they collected from their ancestors. Yes. And I am surrounded by my ancestral energy, even as we talk right now about this very topic. And I look at the pictures on the wall of my grandparents, my great grandparents, and the ones before that. We've got a really strong family lineage. They are the salt of the earth people.
Beautiful.
They're very spiritual. They're very artistic. There's a long line of teachers and preachers and healers and artists, in my line. And I could have gotten stuck in the energies of the other side of it, where there was also depression, where there was also mental illness, physical illness, feelings of unworthiness, things that held people back. Or I could say, I recognize those energies that are here, and I'm going to break through, and I'm going to start pulling upon all of the gifts that my ancestors give me. And I'm going to use those gifts to serve humanity in some way and leave the world slightly better than I found it. Right.
Yeah,
through that hard work and perseverance and determination that was passed through me from my ancestors. So I don't feel that it's an accident that even you and I are having this conversation as we are staying in an environment where we are surrounded by ancestral energy on top of the work that we do with others with ancestral work.
Absolutely.
It's just amazing. Like spirit always loves to blow my mind. But this is, again, just so amazing. And it's not an accident.
Yeah. And I think that even for those who don't know, maybe those who were adopted or who don't know their biological ancestral heritage, of course, you can always do like an ancestry, the DNA, you can do something like that to kind of help bring that in, where you're like, I have a lot of this tradition or this Celtic energy, like this Celtic background. And so maybe you can start diving in to the old traditions of that background or learn more about those traditions, and you can bring that into your space. But also, we do have what's around us is maybe you were raised by different people who weren't blood related, but there can still be physical, mental, all of those things can still be passed down into your space.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And that's one thing that I was learning in the Epigenetics book, was that they have this, they did this study on rats where one rat, the mother was very loving and she would lick her rat baby a lot, where then there was a rat mom who didn't lick her baby. And they did it first with the biological. So the rat mom who licked her baby was her biological, and vice versa, who didn't was also her biological. And then as they grew, those babies also had those same tendencies of the mom. So the one baby who was loved licked her children or her babies, right? And vice versa. But then they also did it where they switched. So the rat mom took so then the rat mom was still loving on that rat baby that wasn't her biological baby. And the baby whose mom was very lovey was raised by the non-lovey rat. And they took on the tendencies of what they were raised with. So that
Mhm.
also shows that we can be raised in a different family or different culture or have whatever that is. And that can be just as engraven within us, even if it's not biologically there. And so I think that's important to remember too, is that if you feel like, well, I don't know my ancestors, I don't have that connection, well, you can
Mhm.
also look at how you were raised, the patterns that you
Yes.
see in the family that you are with now, and see how you can also see that and move through that and be with that, because it's just as powerful as the DNA that's passed down.
Yes. Like even in my family, the things that are I'm staying at and the things that we're surrounded by are from my father's side. My mom was actually adopted, and also my husband's mom was adopted. Both of our moms were adopted. And so I didn't really know a lot of the people on my mother's side all growing up. It wasn't until my mom did ancestral work where she went out to ancestry.com and went back and looked at her ancestry to get an idea of where the family came from and the stories of my ancestors. So a lot of that information came through that work that my mother did. And so it's interesting though, because when I was very little, I was visited by my mom's mom. And so I feel like her energy has always been close by throughout my
Mhm.
life and assisting me. So just because we may not meet these people in the physical here doesn't mean that we cannot. And you talk about this often working with people as a medium, and these beings will come through and they will
Oh,
talk to
yeah,
you.
they still will.
Yes. But yeah, we're all affected. And it reminds me what you were talking about, the epigenetics, the biological versus the environment. And you hear this a lot about in psychology classes. And, is it the environment that is conditions people's behavior, or is it biological? And I personally believe it's both.
It is both. Yeah.
Yeah, it's both. So this work that we're talking about is really powerful, and a lot of therapists are integrating this into their practices. They're learning and being trained how to do ancestral healing work with their clients, and I think that's so fantastic. And I feel like this is what we're going to see more and more as time goes on, again, is this integration between the old ways and ancient wisdom, east and west integration,
Mhm.
and really bringing this all together, because it is so powerful. We're multidimensional beings. It's important we heal the whole self, that we don't just heal one level of that. And
Absolutely.
this is part of healing the whole self.
It's so good. I loved it. Yeah, and it's so interesting because as we're talking, I'm remembering a while ago, I was like, I'm going to start doing online classes about ancestral healing and clearing. And I actually have a journey that we'll bring into our YouTube that is all about
Awesome.
meeting your ancestors. And that's a great place to start, is meeting your ancestors, getting to know them, communing with them, being at this river with them and seeing who comes forward to just open
Yes.
you up into that space. So if that's something you want to look into, you can go to, of course, in the show notes, we'll have it, but on our Modern Stages YouTube, under the playlist of journey work, we'll have that ancestral connection there as well. So you can give that a try.
Yes.
So yeah, it's there for you to use if you're really drawn into this. And we're going to be doing a lot more information, a lot more workshops and everything connected into
Yes.
ancestral clearing and journaling and all of that as well.
Yeah. We were talking about that today. I really want us to do a ancestral healing intensive workshop.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be aiming for some time in late June, maybe around the summer solstice.
Mhm.
That's what I'm feeling. But this will be like a 3-day intensive, where you will be journeying and working with your ancestors more than one time. But you'll be able to work with us as medicine women, help you integrate and process what you received, and also with the group. and have them be a witness to your healing journey and assist others in the group, and other people be assisting you. So I think this is going to be a really powerful time, because for ancestral work, I really think it's great to do it more than one time. Do it
Absolutely.
at least one time if you can, but if you can do it more than once, that's powerful. So if our audience is interested, be looking out for that, as well as we post information about our upcoming intensive ancestral healing workshop. We would
Yeah.
love to see you there, but of course there is limited seating. So make sure that you stay on top of it. And we hope you enjoyed learning about ancestral healing.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Please leave a review or send this to someone if this really resonated with you, as we all are hearing and feeling the call of ancestral clearing, healing, and empowerment. So blessings so much, brothers and sisters. We will talk to you next week.
Thank you for watching Modern Sages. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We are so grateful for your support. If you want to follow us, we have an Instagram account as well as on Facebook. We have our podcast, which is the Modern Sages podcast as well.
And we are so excited to launch our Gifts of Spirit classes in our Modern Sages Mystery School.
Absolutely. Oh, we're so excited. So we're going to link the information below in the show notes for more information about our mystery school.